Thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm sure that more people are going to be joining during the course of the call, and we'll ensure that they get right in. So what we've got going here, oh, let's try, I can just do it here. Okay, so what we have is the Events and Communications Committee are hosting this event this evening with the idea of showing what some of our neighbors are doing in terms of charitable organizations in our area. We hope that you will find some inspiration and consider joining them in their endeavors. Just to go down the list of who we've got today, we have David Seggers with Canine Classmates. David is a volunteer and he lives in our community, as are all of the people we're going to talk about tonight. Patty Cahill is speaking on behalf of CASA. And Patty, you may know, I'm not sure, but there's quite a few of our neighbors that are involved as volunteers with CASA. The Comal Backpack Ministry with Melanie Pittman, CRRC with Ted Searles, and again, this is a case where there are quite a few of our neighbors that are volunteers over at CRRC. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Holly Johnson has an initiative on behalf of the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Paula Rieker, she is going to speak with us about New Life Children's Center. And Jean Wileyman is going to talk to us about the great things that the Rotary Club does in our community, frankly, as well as worldwide. And then to end it, we have Jan Elliott speaking about Threads of Love, a wonderful ministry involving infants in our area. And at the end, what we're going to do is have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please hold them to the end. I believe you're able to unmute yourself without any other involvement. So Heidi, I'd like to turn it over to you. I think you can unmute yourself. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just trying to figure out. I've seen let's screw this up. Just need to, nope. Oh no, where did it go? Okay, can you all see that slide?
I can.
Hi. Oh, good. Okay, great. Heidi, take it away, please.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Heidi Graham, and I am a member of the new events committee. We've been newly formed, and I guess that at the last board meeting, we were, our charter, I guess you could say, was accepted. The new members that I'll be working with is Cami Kristaniak, Chris Dupke, and Christy Martinez. And again, my name, Heidi Graham. And we are really excited to be part of this new group because one of the things that I think that everyone has noticed over the last few years is that our community has grown a lot, and the demographics have begun to change as well. I remember when my husband and I looked for our property back in 2017, we had about, I'd say maybe 30 or 40 properties that we were looking at. And ironically, a lot of those properties now have houses on them. And there's a lot of families, and I've got kids myself, and I've been really surprised about how many other families have kids, young kids, teenagers. We have a great, just a lot of different people in different stages of life. And so the events that I remember we always had were great events. And we are looking forward to being able to incorporate some of the more popular events from the past, but we also are going to be wanting to do events that will be interesting for maybe the kids, the different families. And so in order to figure out what those events might be, we are shortly going to be sending out some surveys in order to have the community be able to give their opinions as to what types of things they'd like to see in the future. But as of for right now, we really want to get something going pretty quickly. So as you can see, we've got something planned for July 10th. And this was, I know that I feel like we've just been, of course, we haven't seen anyone since we all feel like we've been kind of locked away with the pandemic for the last year. So this will be really exciting to be able to finally get back together and reconnect and meet all of our new neighbors and build neighbors. And we're going to be doing that in a picnic type format outside down at the lake park, where we'll have, as it says there, burgers, hot dogs, and chips and water. And so we really look forward to seeing everyone, and we'll have more details coming, and hope everyone will be there and bring your chairs and any other drinks that you may want, and we look forward to seeing you. And I also just forgot to mention that at the end of this presentation, there will be a chance for questions and answers. So as we go through this, if everyone could hold their questions until the end, and then we'll use the raised hand functionality in order to keep things organized so that nobody's talking over each other. And so we will get back to Carol. She'll be introducing each of the other speakers as we go through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. David, could you unmute yourself if you haven't already? David Sligers is up next with Canine Classmates.
Hello, everyone. David Sligers. The charity Canine Classmates, as you see on the slide there, lists out our mission statement. I was going to start, as you guys can kind of follow along on the slide, but I was going to tell you mostly about my personal experience and involvement with Canine Classmates. This is my first year doing it, and I absolutely love it. I've always tried to be involved in some kind of charitable work, and this is one that absolutely, I see the minute I get there, how much of an impact it actually has on young elementary school readers who are deemed at risk. It even starts in the parking lot, with all the other kids, and you go in, and essentially all I do is bring my dog, and the kids read to the dog. So my dog is really the superstar. I'm just the hold the leash guy. But Canine Classmates, they identify these children. They're paired with a mentor and with a dog, and they read to the dog. And I can't tell you how quickly, how proud they are to do it, and how proud of themselves that they are. When we get a little bit further down, you'll see a picture of some of the young readers with the dogs. And you can just see the confidence coming out of them, and how happy they are to be associated with it. And with every other kid at school, they feel absolutely very, very fortunate to be able to be paired with a dog. But it starts right away with, they're not reading to me, they're not reading to their teacher, certainly not in front of a classroom. We're always in a private room where it's just them and the dog, and they just take right off, and all different levels. It's children, like I said, they are at risk. Some have speech impediments, some in their home lives. They're behind in their reading. They're just not comfortable with reading. Any kind of literacy issue is addressed, and they just excel and take to this program so readily. I can't actually say enough about it. Let's see, let me get caught up here. So we build reading competency, confidence, critical connection with caring adult. And that's a key point too. For 1 year, it's a chance that it's a huge help to the teachers and the staff, the counselors at the school. They really love it when we come into the schools, because we have that one-on-one time with a lot of children. At the school I go to, I have 8 children, and I think that's probably the norm. At another school that I've been going to, there's also 8 kids. So that's 72 kids that are affected. And we go in once a week, and typically, like I said, my schedule would be just one school with 8 children. And I got to tell you, it's quickly become one of the most important things I do. I blow off anything and everything all the time, except for Canine Classmates, because it's so rewarding, and I think so important. And And the kids just look forward to it so much. And the success of the program is easily measured with the state testing and the testing that the schools do. But like I said, you don't even need a test to show the immediate beneficial impacts of it. Carol, can we go to that next slide? Okay, so you can see right there the numbers of who we capture and how we capture, and then with the mentors, the less likely to miss school and more likely to enroll in college. And then of the students we serve, the 95 to 97 percentile, the behavior modification promoted to the next grade, and improvement in school attendance. And it's just a program that goes in kind of, I guess I'd say it like the ground level, and captures the kids that need the intervention and the help the most, and then actually, gives it to them on a daily basis in a 30-minute session where they get to have an immense amount of fun doing it. Like they'll sit there and as they're reading, there's usually one hand on the dog, always petting the dog. They get to walk the dogs in the hall sometimes, and just really take to it. So and I don't have like the statistics or numbers to do this, but you can see weekly the improvement in these kids, and then they start getting excited and they bring books from home. They bring books they think the dog wants to read. They bring in pictures of their animals. So they just really open up, and they're so comfortable. It's just an amazing thing. Carol, what do we have on the next slide?
The next one has, there's 2 slides that have photos next.
Okay, so hold on just a second. So, so ways to help to give or to help out with Canine Classmates is obviously donations. That's always in need, and our website is canineclassmates.org, and I'm sure that's going to show up here in a minute. So donations, and then volunteering, and absolutely, if you have a dog that you think would be a good canine companion, there's I think it's Hill Country Kennels out in Bernie, I believe on June 7th, and this is all on the website. They're having kind of an open house, I believe, to kind of show what they do, and I don't want to be quoted on this, but I believe you can kind of see if you feel like your dog would be a good canine companion. So if you want to be a best buddy, if you have a dog that you think, and that's kind of how I kind of got involved. I have such a great dog, I thought, well, I can't keep her all to myself. She needs to do this. And then I saw the lady who comes up with her dog to Rebecca Creek when my kids were in elementary school there. I thought, man, I have to get my dog to do that. So if you think you have a dog, if you want to donate financial help, that's always needed. And our website again, Classmates or canineclassmates.org. There's a big gala fundraiser August 6th, and also I know that'll be on the next slide, but August 6th is a gala at Gennaro's this year. So you guys can get tables, you can all come out, there'll be dogs there, you kind of see what's going on, get the feel for it. All right, I think until we get to the question and answer.
No, you're not quite done. You've got 3 more slides at least.
3 more slides? Okay, let's see what we got. Let's keep going. Oh, so there you go. If you look at that picture, there's the dog. She's so excited to go in the morning. Every day she helps me do the carpool, and it's just amazing. She gets out of the house at 6 o'clock and waits. And when I put the leash down and I pack my lunch, and she knows we're going to the school, she's just beside herself. She can't hardly wait to get there. And you can see on the faces of those 2 kids, if you knew them, you would know that a little bit shy and how they come out, and then just they got their awards because they read to the dog all year. This year was, of course, a modified year with COVID and all that, but they read to the dog as often and as much as they could as soon as we could get back in the schools. And we did get back in the schools because the superintendent of Comal ISD deemed it so important that it was essential that we were able to come in and keep the Canine Classmate program going. So it has a lot of support from the superintendent on down. And like I said, I mentioned the teachers and counselors who are overwhelmed. Just anything that we do is received so well. There's a couple more. There's my dog, Sibley, with a family, and another one of my little readers, and then her just resting in my office, which I don't even know. I can't see if I'm getting her, but that's what she does. When she's not at work, she rests in the office or waits in the car. So I think that's about it, Carol. like I said, immediate impact as soon as you get to the school. It's just awesome. Oh, here you go. So yeah, Best Buddy, if you think you have a dog that would be able to do this, it would just be awesome. There's our website. And of course, our gala on August 6th. That would be awesome to have a bunch of Mystic Shores people represented. So thank you guys very much.
And again, here we've got the Canine Classmates website and all the information regarding the gala for sure is there. I didn't realize that there was some dog training coming up on June 7th. Patty, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Okay. Hello, my name is Patty Cahill, and I'm just delighted to be able to talk to you this evening about CASA of Central Texas. I've been associated with CASA for about 4 years now, and I just loved every minute of it. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates, but of course it's also the Spanish word for home or house. So keep that in mind as we move along, because I believe that they kind of did this on purpose because of the importance of a home for children, a safe home. So next slide, please, Carol. Okay. CASA of Central Texas, what it advocates for, it's for abused and neglected children who have been taken out of the home because it's not a safe place for them. The children are placed in foster homes. Either family members can step up and take the children to help them for a while, or else trained foster families also are available for the children to go and live with while their parents are working through some of the issues that had the children taken away. And what we do is we advocate for the children in the courts, in the schools, in the community, by recruiting, just like now, and hopefully we'll recruit some volunteers because all the volunteers come right from the community, and they're from any walk of life. I'm a retired teacher, but we have anyone that has a heart for this can get involved. So next slide, please. CASA envisions a world where every child is in a safe, stable, and loving home. And as I mentioned before, sadly, there are children that their home is not safe and stable. There might be drugs, alcoholism, family violence. And so the children are removed temporarily, placed in a foster system, and then trying to work with the family. The goal in the state of Texas is for a child to be in the foster system no more than a year. They hope to get the whole process not drawn out, but they hope to be able to resolve things within a year, and then find either return them to their home where the parents have been able to work through some of their issues, or to find them a home, a forever home that's safe and stable and loving through adoption. Okay, the next slide. CASA is an important part of this circle of providers that all work together to ensure that the best interest of the child is considered. The CASA is the guardian ad litem for the child. There are attorneys involved, the attorneys for the parents. For the biological parent, there's an attorney for the child, and of course an attorney for the Child Protective Services. There's the court, and there's also, of course, Child Protective Services. Then there are the foster family, the biological family, the school, the therapist. We work with all these different entities, all these different people, again, to ensure that the child's best interests are being presented to the judge at the different hearings that are held. They're usually 3 to 4 months apart, the court hearings, to evaluate how is the child doing and how are the biological parents doing with the service plan that they've been given and agreed to through the court and through Child Protective Services. Next slide. The components for a CASA, like me, when a child comes into the system, hopefully they will be assigned a CASA. And the CASA is offered the position, it's volunteer, and of course we've been trained, and we can accept the position, or it might not be the right timing, or the fit might not be exactly right, but if we do accept the case, we gather information. We'll go to the Child Protective Services office in New Braunfels, and we'll read all about the case, why the child was taken from the home. We'll meet the child. We'll talk to the foster parents. We'll hopefully meet the biological parents, if that's possible, if they're available. We'll talk to CPS and the attorneys, and we'll try to formulate the best plan for the child. We facilitate conversations between all these different entities. We advocate for the best interest of the child, and we monitor how the child is doing. For example, I have an elementary age child now that I'm advocating for, and I noticed that his reading is not quite at grade level. So I emailed the teacher and I asked for some recommendations for books that he could read over the summer to try to bring up his reading skills. He's not too far behind, but he's not right on grade level. So in the monitoring, we try to involve the education and the social aspect, and this little guy also loves baseball. So we were advocating for him to play Little League, which he loved. So there's a lot of different ways to advocate and monitor the child so that they have a safe and a happy life while they're in the foster care system. So the next. As it says here, as a volunteer, we're assigned to one or two cases. Usually it's one. It could be a single child, or it could be a sibling group. I have two cases now because, oddly enough, the two cases kind of relate. So since I know the background, I was asked to take this second case on last year. And what we do is we stay with the child from the very beginning until the case is finished, till the child is reunited with the family, or if that's not possible, like I said, until they are hopefully adopted by someone, a foster to adopt family. My first case, the child was adopted. Unfortunately, he could not return to the family home. And so he was adopted, and by a very loving family that just, welcomed the child with open arms. So that was a happy ending. And I've kind of talked through this. This is the consistent presence. I've kind of mentioned all this. The child is removed from the home. CASA is appointed by the judge, and the volunteer begins meeting with the child. And what we try to do is establish a rapport with the child. It's been interesting because two of my cases have been with newborns. So it's more, of course, loving on the newborn and getting to know the foster family, and as they are taking care of this newborn child, and seeing what the children needs, or the child needs, and what the family needs. There are family meetings where we get together with the biological parents, and we try to identify the needs of the child, all of us together, and the resources for the parents. Like, do they have someone that perhaps could help babysit sometime, or do they have an older parent that might be able to kind of guide the biological parent in the different parenting skills. We meet monthly with our child. Before COVID, we would go to the house and meet with the child, you know, play with them, meet with the foster parents. It's been more challenging with COVID. We meet on FaceTime, and it's more of a conversation type of a thing rather than, you know, like playing games with them and stuff. But it's still fun, you know, trying to get to know our child that we're supporting, and the foster parents as well. Then there's another team meeting that comes later on in the process, and we work to strengthen the network of support for the family. Are there uncles or aunts that might be able to come and, you know, play with the child, or cousins, older cousins that might be able to be kind of a buddy to the child? You know, we're trying to strengthen the support that the child's family can offer. We advocate, what we hope that will happen will be that the biological family will be able to go through the means to help them be reunited with their child. This isn't always the case, unfortunately. Sometimes it's able to happen, and sometimes it's not. But our goal is really, first of all, to have the child reunited with their parents. And if not them, perhaps somebody in the family can step in and help take care of the children. If not, then the foster family would be looked at as a possible family for them, a safe and happy forever family. And then, like I say, we're with them from the time that we're assigned until the case is totally closed. So it's a year at least, and it's a wonderful year of getting to know the child and strengthening the trust and the confidence that he has that we're representing his best interest. Okay, the next slide. We work with Comal of CASA of Central Texas, and I'm going to look at the Comal County because that's where we live. And if you look at the pie graph, Comal County has 288 children in state care in the foster system. 78% of the children are served by CASA, which is really wonderful. It would be wonderful if we had more volunteers so that it could be 100%. Of course, some of the CASAs have one child, and some of them have big sibling groups, you know, maybe 4 or 5 children that are represented by a CASA. And then our next slide shows the number of CASAs that are available. We have 267 trained community members in the 4 counties of Caldwell, Guadalupe, Comal, and Hayes. And again, looking at Comal, there's 122 of us, and that is taking care of the 288 children. So all of these counties really could use more volunteers. I was looking at Hayes, and I saw that, gosh, Hayes has 500 children in the foster care system, and they have 136 volunteers. So they really could use some more volunteers to help with our dream of every child having a CASA. Okay, the next slide, please. Like I say, I've enjoyed every moment of being a CASA volunteer for the last 4 years. The requirements are that you be 21 years or older, and I certainly am. They're 42-hour training program, and it was really wonderful. We met at the CASA office in New Braunfels, and the training modules were really well presented, and you know, we got to role play and learn about the child welfare system, learn about collaborative family engagement. There are videos to watch. There are books to read, articles to kind of process. That all goes into the training. Another part of the training is that before COVID, we would actually go to court and sit as an observer and watch the different hearings and see how the process unfolds in the court. And see the different, the CPS caseworker testifying, the attorneys working with their clients. It was a very interesting experience. Now, of course, we're on Zoom now for all the court hearings, but that's worked very well too. And I imagine with the training, you would just be able to come on into the Zoom and watch as the process unfolds. Their background checks, FBI fingerprinting, check into the Child Abuse and Neglect Registry, and motor vehicle and record check. But I'm sure if somebody was interested in becoming a volunteer, that it would be a walk in the park to get all that done. The beauty of this program is that the volunteer is not left floundering. We're all assigned to a caseworker, supervisor who works with us every step of the way. For example, I mentioned about my little boy who is behind in reading, and so when I sent a letter to the teacher asking for books, I copied her so that she knows that this is what I'm looking at, that I'm hoping that the child this summer will be able to practice reading and get a library card and that type of thing. So we're all, and I also sent it to the Child Protective Service caseworker and the child's lawyer so that we all know what the other person is doing in the process. But like I say, with having the supervisor, it's just wonderful. CASA, we really believe, makes an impact. It really makes a difference in the lives of the children and the families that are being served. We develop a nurturing relationship with the child. We hope, of course, I had two infants, but my child now is older and, of course, can give me feedback about things that he would like, or, that type of thing. The child has a voice once they get old enough. So we nurture a strong relationship between the CASA and the child, and then we help and we look for ways to strengthen the network that the child is in. Hopefully, like we said, there would be family friends, or there would be an aunt or an uncle that might be willing to step in and help this child along their journey. We find that the child's well-being is increased, mentally, physically, and educationally, because we're monitoring everything. And the foster parents are very good about taking them to the doctor and the dentist and the eye doctor, but we're keeping an eye on all of this. And then keep families connected. Several of the children that we have might have half-siblings who are also in the foster care system. So before COVID, again, we would try to get the siblings together and have them play and get to know one another, so that later on in life they could actually continue with this relationship. So hopefully that will return again once COVID kind of dies down.
Patty, would you mind if we just got to the next slide and started to wrap up, because we still have quite a few presenters.
Yes, of course. And the next two are quick. We're asking, we always need people to serve as an advocate for children and families. If you could, spread the word about what a wonderful program this is. They suggest you could serve as a board member, you could donate. There also is a big fundraiser that they hold every year, which I'm sure we could find out more information about that as well. And then the last one are show the contact information for CASA. their offices in New Braunfels and in San Marcos, and there's a phone number and also online information. And they'd love to talk to you. I would love to talk to you about any questions that you have. If anyone is interested, we'd love to speak with you.
Thanks, Patty. Melanie, can you unmute yourself if you haven't already?
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to share about what we call the Comal Backpack Ministry. Next slide, please. It's been in existence for 10 to 12 years, and I've been involved in it for about 7 years. And it's coordinated by First Baptist Church, Canyon Lake Women's Ministry. And we have several other churches in the area: St. Francis Episcopal Church, St. Andrew's Lutheran, Cranes Mill Baptist, and Stonewater Fellowship that support the ministry either by bringing supplies and bags to our church or by giving monetary donations. And we also have, and if you look in some of the pictures that are going to see, you'll see a lot of Mystic Shores residents that before COVID, we met once a month and stuffed bags, which we're hoping to get back to that next year. But even this year, we've had 4 or 5 teams that have gotten together once a month and stuffed 100 bags each, and then to help deliver them to the schools. And we have a couple of Bible studies in Mystic Shores that have donated money for us. We have several Mystic Shores residents that drop supplies by my house or even by the church. And so I'm going to talk about several ways that you can help with that. We're hoping starting in August that we will start meeting once a month again. So I'll get some more information to Carol about that once we figure out if that's going to work with all the with COVID restrictions and stuff. Next slide. When I first got involved 7 years ago, they were doing about 100 bags a month. And now the need has increased from 350 bags a month to 544 bags a month in 2021. The current cost per bag, depending on if things are on sale or how the donations come in, is about $3.55 to $3.80. The schools we serve are Starkville Elementary, Mountain Valley Elementary, Rebecca Creek Elementary, Mountain Valley Middle School, and Canyon Lake High School. And Sherry Freeman is a lady that helps me at the church with contacts at each school, and she talks to the communities and service individuals at the school, and they let us know what kids that they have that might be in need. And these are kids that fall through the cracks usually, and the parents haven't filled out the government paperwork to get lunches and stuff. And some of the kids have actually told the communities and service person, you know, we have enough food through the week, but we run out for the weekend. So this helps us. And then we actually had a girl that was in, she was one of the ones that gets the bags, and we fill gallon-sized baggies is what they get with small snacks in there. And she said, I'm one of the people that gets these bags. And she said, it's not that we don't have food during the week, but we run out by the weekend. So these bags help us, you know, get through the weekend. And then we usually find out that there are brothers and sisters. Like if we have some in elementary school, then usually there's a brother or sister in middle school or high school. We are not allowed to get the names because of FERPA. And so we can't get donations from San Antonio Food Bank and things like that because you have to have their Social Security number to be able to do that. And we do this anonymously. We give it to the communities and schools person, and she knows the individual students at each school. Let's see, next slide, please. Total bags distributed in 2018-2019 was 3,765. In 2021, this year, it's 4,652 total bags that we will have distributed at the end of the year. And actually, this week is the last week that they're taking to the schools. And the estimated total cost for this year was $18,608. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to emphasize that this year, the need and the cost have increased to $18,000. Close to $19,000. So any monetary contributions can be made. Checks can be made to First Baptist Church with Backpack Ministry in the memo line. This is not a church the church has given us a small budget this year because the need was so great, but we also have a designated fund that is not part of the church budget. And the other churches have started helping us a little bit more also. If you make a cash or if anyone makes a cash donation, you just make it out to First Baptist Church with Backpack Ministry in the memo line, and that way it doesn't go into the regular budget. It goes into a designated fund for the Backpack Ministry. And then I just gave instructions for put in an envelope. If you want to make cash donations, you can put Backpack Ministry, First Baptist Church, and then there's the address, 13085 FM 306, Canyon Lake, Texas 78133. And Carol, you're going to have this on the Mystic Shores POA website. So, and then food donations can be taken at the First Baptist Church office, or since this is for Mystic Shores people, you can drop them off at my house. Then these are the supplies that we put in every bag. It's Chef Boyardee little cups, macaroni and cheese little cups. Everything, as you can see, everything is in a snack size, and we get them at Sam's or Walmart or wherever they happen to be cheapest that month. I think that's all that I have, Carol. And I just want to thank everyone for your interest, and thank you for allowing me to share. And I will get information about when we'll be stuffing if you're interested in that. I send it out to the Bible studies in the neighborhood, but if you want to be on that list, you just let me know and I'll put your name on the list. So,
thank you, Melanie. Ted, I think you're up next with CRRC.
Good.
Can you unmute?
Yep. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ted Searles. I've been a resident of Mystic Shores now for 14 years, and for 12 of those years, almost 12 of those years, I've been a volunteer at CRRC, the Community Resource and Recreation Center. The CRRC is really a lifeline to people in need within the Canyon Lake area. And they provide many services, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But I've led a pretty blessed life, but it hasn't always been easy. Volunteering at CRRC is kind of personal to me. My father back in the late 50s was a sergeant in the Army with 5 children, and my mother had to visit the food pantry around Fort Benning a few times just to make ends meet. So I know how important it is for people around the area to have the services that the CRRC provides. Next slide. So the CRRC actually has been around since 1981. At that time, it was the Canyon Lake Action Center, and it was just one building that provided emergency food assistance to people within the area. And it progressed with the addition of the thrift store about 10 years later. And I might mention that the thrift store is the main source of revenue for the CRRC for the food pantry. Of course, we do get donations, both cash and food. We get donations from various churches in the area, North Shore Methodist, Cowboys for Jesus, St. Thomas. Almost all of the local churches in the area help us out. And we get individual contributions from people as well. But I will mention that we get most of our food from the San Antonio Food Bank, and we pay pennies on the dollar for that food. So obviously cash contributions goes a lot farther than if individuals go to HEB or Lowe's or Brookshire's and buy the food themselves. And we appreciate that, obviously, but cash contributions go a lot farther for us. Back in 2000, it was recognized that there was a need for not just emergency food and financial assistance within the community, but there were not a whole lot of recreational activities for seniors and for youth within the area. So at that time, they expanded and built the recreation center, which is on the South Access Road, just south of the dam. The main office for CRRC and the thrift store are on Farm to Market 2673, about a couple blocks beyond the South Access Road. A little later than that, we expanded the recreation center and added the senior center, which allowed us also at that time to expand the thrift store. If you haven't been to the thrift store, there's a lot of treasures that you'll find there. There's an antique section, and then there's the main area of the thrift store that includes lightly used items that have been donated by people all over the community. That includes housewares, toys, books, videos, clothing, shoes, holiday items. And it's a great place to shop, and you'll find all kinds of interesting things there. And as I mentioned, the thrift store is the main source of revenue for the food pantry, which we use, which we buy things from the San Antonio Food Bank and occasionally from the local grocery stores. Around 2013, it was pretty clear to the CRRC board of directors and the staff and the volunteers that the building that we had no longer served its intended purposes. The population around Canyon Lake was growing. The building was literally falling apart. I mean, some of the drywall was actually coming off. And it became clear that we needed to expand. Back in 2018, we received a $250,000 grant, which allowed us to begin planning for the facility that we are actually in now. The ground was actually broken for that facility in 2018. We got into the new facility, which is absolutely marvelous compared to where we were. And there are all kinds of plans to expand the services that we offer in that facility because it's so much larger and so much more convenient, including medical counseling and other services for the community. Next slide.
She's got this going slowly.
Well, let's dribble down. Okay, so the resources that we provide, that CRRC provides to the community, I mentioned the food pantry. Let me just mention one story, and there are hundreds of them. I volunteer in the food pantry itself, and I'll talk about some of the other services where volunteers work, but I volunteer at the front office of the food pantry. And there are hundreds of stories like this, but let me just relate one to you. I was at the front desk and two women came in. They had driven up, and then there were four young children in the back seat of the car. They had just escaped abusive relationships and taken their children with them. They were actually living in their car. It was in summer. It was hot. Those children in the back looked so distressed. Those two women had no idea where to go or what to do. And CRRC is often the first referral place for distressed people within the community. They came in, they didn't know where to go or what to do. We were able to find them temporary shelter. We gave them some food and water to sustain them until they got to their new temporary shelters. And those two kids in the back, those four children in the back seat, I took it upon myself to give them little cups of ice cream and spoons. And I'll tell you what, giving those kids ice cream in the summer when they were so traumatized by what they had been through, made what little time I spent at CRRC worth it. And I'll tell you that I don't spend a whole lot of time there. It's a very small way to give back to the community. I've always felt that one of my purposes in life was to make the world a little better than when I came in. And I find being a volunteer at CRRC so rewarding, and that particular incident basically demonstrated all of those, the kinds of rewards that I feel almost every week when I volunteer. And I only do it one day a week for 3.5 hours. There are many other volunteers that help out in that regard. So that's the food pantry. We have numerous clients, and I'll get to the numbers here in a minute, but on a given day during a 3.5 hour period, we'll probably see at least 5 or 6 clients, depending upon what time of the month or the conditions in the community. And we because of COVID now, we have to fill the order for them in a shopping cart. But as soon as things let up from COVID, maybe as early as toward the end of next month, we will be doing client serve, where the clients actually come into the pantry themselves and take what food they need based upon the numbers in their household, with the assistance of volunteers at the pantry. We also provide some limited financial assistance. Obviously, we have very limited financial resources. We have helped during the COVID period because we've gotten funds from the U.S. government to assist in both financial assistance and emergency food assistance. So that has helped us during the pandemic, but that is likely to end within the next month. And so those funds will run out, and we will have to rely totally on the donations that we receive or the revenue from the thrift store. We also have a lending closet, a medical lending closet, where we loan out things like wheelchairs, crutches, potty chairs, shower chairs, and those kinds of things. We loan them out for a 3-month period, but if the client needs them a little longer than that, it's not a problem. We readily extend that. We also do Meals on Wheels within the Canyon Lake area. Those meals are provided by the Senior Center in New Braunfels. We go and pick them up, and then we have volunteers on Tuesdays and Thursdays who drive them to clients in need around the community. Recreation, I mentioned the Recreation Center is on the South Access Road, right across from the Ty Preston Library. We also have a community garden there where we grow, and there are volunteers that work there too, where we grow fresh produce that we hand out to the clients at the food pantry. But as far as recreation, we conduct activities for seniors and youth activities, everything as the slide says, from aerobics to Zumba. Some of that has been put on hold, obviously, because of COVID, but it's coming back. So if anyone is interested in that, you need only to call the Recreation Center, and you can find our phone numbers both for the main office, the thrift store, and the rec center at our website, CRRC of CanyonLake.org. Just a couple other events that we sponsor. The North Pole Village has always been a huge hit. Of course, that's been on hold for the last 2 years, but we hope to get it started again this year. Last year, we actually had a drive through North Pole Village, but it's nothing like what we set up in the Recreation Center with all the buildings and Santa Claus and the country store and the hay rides and all those kinds of things. It's very inexpensive. It is a fundraiser for CRRC, but it's very inexpensive for families, and it is a highlight every Christmas. We do things like the shrimp fry for the Lions Club. The Lions Club has always funded us for things like eyeglasses for our clients. We handle all the paperwork, and they do all the funding for eye checks and for the glasses themselves. I mentioned the thrift store, and it is really an interesting place to visit. It's open Mondays through Saturday. They accept donations of lightly used items on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 10 to 2. And they accept almost everything. If it's lightly used and it can be resold, it's a big help to us. And it's those things go directly into the thrift store, and we do get quite a bit of revenue from the thrift store. Again, I mentioned the community center, so I won't go into that again, but there are numerous seniors programs like Silver Sneakers, line dancing classes, Zumba, and they're even starting yoga there now. So if you're interested in any of those, contact the community, contact the rec center directly. Next slide. So here you can see on this slide the number of people that we have assisted around the Canyon Lake area since 2007. But in 2020 alone, we fit 8,402 people around the Canyon Lake area. That would never have happened had we not the volunteers that we have. We have 150 volunteers and those are scattered through the food pantry, both in the warehouse where we move the food, in the pantry where we load the shopping carts, at the front desk where we handle the clients, the Meals on Wheels drivers, the volunteers that work at the thrift store, and those volunteers also that work in the barn and accept the donations. So again, CRRC would never exist without the help of volunteers. And we have a number of Mystic Shores residents that volunteer at CRRC. And again, it doesn't take much time, 1 day a week, half a day. And it is so rewarding to know that you've helped out people within the Canyon Lake area. And let me tell you something else. You know, we live a pretty good existence here in Canyon Lake, but we're somewhat insulated. We have beautiful homes, we have a beautiful area, but let me tell you, there is a lot of poverty around Canyon Lake. And again, if it weren't for CRRC, those people would not be able to survive without some agency to give them a helping hand. Next slide. So you can see here, you know, we're celebrating our roots. We've been around for 40 years. We expect to grow, especially with the new facility. We will have our grand opening of the new facility. If you haven't seen it, again, it's right off of 2673. As you're driving from 306 towards Sattler or towards Starksville, you'll see the big gray building on the left. It's a wonderful new facility, and we're going to have an open house there at the end of next month. You're all welcome to come by. It'll be on a Tuesday. I think it's around 5 o'clock or so. If you have any questions, visit our website. You can make donations online there. It'll tell you about what we do, and it also relates some of the stories where we've helped people out. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ted. Next up is Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and Holly Johnson is presenting. Holly, I'm not sure if you're on. If you are, could you unmute yourself?
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, there you are. Yes. Okay. We sure can. So, Holly, just let me know when you're ready for us to move on to the next slide, okay? In each case.
Okay. This is a MAD cookbook initiative that was an idea that I came up with. And the initiative that I'm presenting today, I wanted to give you an overview of why we came up with it, what the goals are, and why we're moving forward with it. So let me start with how this came about. If you could do the next slide. On Sunday, November the 10th, 2019, around 6:45, while driving home on 306, which I'm sure many of you have been on, my daughter's car was hit head-on by a man who had been partying at bars in San Antonio with friends. The man walked away. My daughter, my 11-year-old grandson, and my daughter's 93-year-old Navy vet grandfather, World War II vet, they were killed. Next slide. Even though our families had only been in the community since 2018, building our homes and establishing roots in Comal County, our new community fully embraced us in our time of need, and that is Mystic Shores. That means the churches all over Comal County. That means the baseball teams. That was people we had never met everybody. Next slide. People came together, our neighbors, and they provided breakfast and dinners for 3 months. That was during Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. People remember we needed basic items like toilet paper, like towels, paper towels, things when we couldn't think at all. They thought about it. And that was when the idea came together about all of the recipes with the contributors' names and the different communities that they came from, whether it was our neighborhood or whether it was the churches. having that in a cookbook. And luckily I had Carol Little and Allison Sims to really kind of support me in this idea. And I wanted to say thanks to everybody who provided all their time so selflessly. And if maybe we could just get some sort of glimmer of positivity from it, sell the cookbook and make donations going to Mothers Against Drug Driving. Next slide. So the goal of this was to sell 5,000 cookbooks at $20 each, and I know that's a lofty goal, and make our total revenues of $100,000, which would match just about what MAD brings in annually, and to gain corporate sponsors to cover the cost of the printing. Well, I've already got 2 corporate sponsors, so I think I've got the cost of the printing already done. And then to gain support in multiple areas for sales opportunities. And again, I've got a couple of churches and then some other volunteer groups and festivals who said that they would help us as far as putting up a booth so that we could put the book for sale. So hopefully we can find some other areas that would let us put up a booth and sell the book. Also, MAD has an October walk, and that they said that they would let us sell the book at the October walk, and they would give us public recognition for all of the corporate sponsors at that event. So we've got some of those basics covered. Also, we are working with MAD, Andrea Anthony, the head of the San Antonio chapter, and they are running our ideas through their legal. Doing that would allow us to have selective use of their print and photographic materials in the cookbook, and that would be a huge win for us. Hopefully this will get some help in Comal County with the first responders who were so important for our loved ones and for everyone's loved ones if they are in this kind of need, and in the public schools with peer-to-peer programs. Next slide. How our love for those we lost and the gift of love from our new community inspired this cookbook to give back. Well, one of the things that we learned, and it's probably not a huge surprise, is that in 2019, the Texas Department of Transportation notes that there were 24,666 DUIs in Texas. That resulted in 900 fatalities. 25% of all fatalities were due to DUIs. Our family was not the only one impacted. And Mothers Against Drunk Driving helps those families, helps those children in schools dealing with the loss of people that they know and people that they love. And those kinds of resources are often not tapped. And we would like to have any monies that we raise be tapped and be used, hopefully in Comal County. Next slide. So what we would like is for this book to be broken down, and the first 4 tabs look like a typical cookbook and have appetizers, main dishes, maybe breakfast, vegetables, desserts. But on each tab, rather than a food picture, have the 4 tenets of MAD with their information and pictures, and have it really talk about the supporting information, how law enforcement helps and supports it, and first responders, talking about drug driving prevention and having numbers and how to get in touch with people, having drug driving prevention, telephone numbers, emails, any kind of information that they have on those tabs, teen drinking prevention, because that's important as well, and how to get in touch with somebody either through the web or through a phone number or anything that would help. And the index tab would have assistance help directives with decision trees and multiple corresponding ways of getting help. Next tab. And the inside front cover pages would have pictures of Melissa and Brendan and Melissa's grandfather, Walt Parker, because we, like all other survivors, have to make this personal. We have to bring it down to a level because these are the people we love. And we also have to make it about Brendan's friends and what they did at his school. They made a banner and they had a wall memorial at his school. And they loved him and missed him as well. And they have to survive as well. And his Little League football, his Little League baseball team, they did a memorial and they continue to remember Brendan as well. And they need support as 11 and 12-year-olds as well. And then there are the people that Melissa worked with, and they supported her, and we want to remember that as well. But we want to make sure that everybody along the way, not just our family, but everybody along the way has the ability to get help if they need it and have somebody to talk to. And if we can get MAD and those kind of people to get into the schools, then that would be a wonderful way to do it. And on the back and inside covers, we would like to have a montage of all of the victims from Texas, from all over the U.S., because this does need to be real, and we do want to recognize all of the other ones who've been lost, and that there are families out there like ours. Of course, we would like this never to happen to anyone else, but we do want all of the others out there to be recognized. And if anybody, our big ask is that if we have anybody who has done any of these recipes for us, please forward that to us. I would send my Google Mail to Carol and let her put it out there. Please send us your recipe, send us your name, send us where you came from and how you heard about us so that we can print it in a book and we can acknowledge that you did this for us and that we can put this in a book and we can forward the money to MAD and hopefully do more of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Holly. We really appreciate it. And those of you that may not know, that the photo that you're seeing there that Holly has is that of Melissa and Brendan. Thanks again, Holly. Paula, you're up next to talk about New Life. If you could unmute yourself.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for having us. It's my privilege to talk to you about the New Life Children's Center at Canyon Lake. I hope you know where it is located. If not, just picture yourself driving from here to Sattler on the Dam Access Road. And in between the CRRC and the Canyon Lake Gorge is the New Life Children's Center. It's kind of off the road and kind of hard to find, but I was really lucky 20 years ago to be driving down that road. There was very little to do out here 20 years ago, and I just really felt called to drive in and see what it was about. So New Life Children's Center is a residential treatment center for young women who have been traumatized by emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. And they've been traumatized to the point where they cannot live safely either in their home or in a foster home because they need therapeutic care. So New Life Children's Center is where they come to get that care, and there are many professionals there to help them through their trauma, help them see the value of who they are, and get them positioned so that they can go either back to their own home, their family home, or to foster care. Next slide, please. New Life Children's Center is a part of the Upbring organization. The Upbring mission is to break the cycle of child abuse by empowering children, families, and communities. And the role of New Life within that is primarily in empowering children, specifically these young women. Next slide. So I mentioned it was a residential treatment center, and what that means is that they come to live there and that every day they have some sort of therapy, whether it's individual therapy or group therapy. And they have dormitories. There's 4 dormitories that are each split up into 2 sections, so really technically 8, that serve up to 80 girls, so 10 girls in each dorm, age 11 through 17. And they age out at the age of 18. So at that point, they're no longer a part of the state system. And the state does pay a stipend for these girls to come stay there because they can't stay at foster care because of their emotional issues that they have. And so it is a part of the state system, but it is a private facility. And you can see here that the average stay is 6 to 9 months. There is an organization at the state level that comes in and evaluates the girls and determines when they are in an emotional state and have a proven track record of behavior that would enable them to live safely in a home, a family home or a foster home. So I mentioned that they have the individual and group therapies. In addition, sometimes the families come in to New Life for therapy. One of the prior presentations was on CASA, and you heard about children who have been taken by Children's Protective Services because they're not safe in their home. Most of the girls at New Life have been plucked out of their homes by Children's Protective Services due to this abuse. There is a smaller population that is there through the juvenile detention organization, but most of them are Children's Protective Services. And it's important that these families have a chance to be reunited. So right on campus, we have the 2 apartments where families can come stay and visit the girls and go through family care there on campus. There is a charter school there on campus called the Trinity Charter School, and it is just a phenomenal facility with great teachers and recreational activities and very customized schooling for these girls, most of whom need some special ed support. And then in addition, they always incorporate life readiness. So when you were growing up, somebody taught you how to save your money or how to spend money wisely or what money even was. They helped you figure out what you wanted to be when you grew up. And these girls don't have those families to do that for them. So they do that as a part of the program at New Life. Next slide, please. These pictures just show on the left some of the, I'll call them prizes or treats that girls get. They operate on the Boys Club system there where they get points throughout the course of the day for their good behavior. So it's very much about rewarding good behavior rather than punishing bad behavior because they've had lots of punishment for bad behavior in the past. And so they have a point system and they get to come and cash in their points at the point store and have all kinds of things that they really come to cherish because these girls come with little except what the clothes they have on their back. So it's a nice time for them to just be a kid and get some good toys. And on the right, you can see it's just a very restful campus, and there are these little spots where folks can gather and just, have some quiet time. They live in these dorms, and so it's always nice that they can get off and have their own space. Next slide. And this is just the kind of a classic point store at the New Life. It's a purple building, and it's just really the highlight of a girls' week to be able to cash in their points and come get their treats. Next slide. They try to give them as normal a life as possible as you can in a contained facility. I mean, it's a fenced facility, and they only go out off campus in supervised settings. But you will see them at churches in our community. You will see them if there's a parade, they'll be there, or if there's something happening at the dam, like a relay race or something, you'll see the New Life girls there. And what young woman doesn't love arts and crafts? It's a great form of expression for grief, expression for just learning who they are and learning that they have value by the things that they can create. There's gardening. You can see the list here. I won't read them all, but I do want to point out the barn care, because if you drive by New Life, you'll see they've got donkeys and sheep and goats and chickens, and the girls, it's really a form of therapy to go work with the animals at the barn. And it is a Christian-based home there. Upbringing traditionally is part of the Lutheran denomination, but it's a Christian-based home, and so they have every opportunity to come to know the Lord and to study. It's optional, so they either do it or they don't, but they're all enriched by getting exposed to a way of thinking that they just haven't known before in most cases. Next slide. I regret that one of the slides is not in here, so I'm just going to walk you through a couple of the volunteer opportunities because all of these are pretty flexible, and you can spend a little time or you can spend a lot of time at New Life. My heart has always been with the school in mentoring and really kind of tutoring in a way the young women because most of these young women need special education. They need special provisions to get through school because they may have attention span disorders. They may have other impediments to learning. And so the special education program cuts them some slack and allows them to grow at their own rate. But every person in special education needs an advocate, an adult advocate. And since most of these girls have been taken out of their homes and their parents have lost either temporarily or permanently their parental rights, they don't have an independent adult to advocate for them. And so that's the role that I play and that several of our neighbors also play. And you can go once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month to see the girls, and you get to know them personally, and you get to encourage them, and then you get to advocate for them when there are changes to their schooling that are recommended by the staff. And it is an excellent staff. And although we've had some spirited debates from time to time, I've never, ever disagreed with any of the recommendations for these girls' schooling. Another volunteer opportunity that is really fun is called Chick Time. And either women on their own, adult women on their own, or women and their daughters can participate in Chick Time. And this is the Saturday event where someone has planned a big event, and it usually involves food and maybe some music, maybe some exercise, arts and crafts, a carnival kind of environment. And these women from the outside and their daughters come in and entertain and help further develop these young women at New Life. And it's a really cherished time because the girls love the attention from volunteers. You know, it's one thing to have a teacher pay you attention or a therapist pay you attention, but that's their job. It's another thing for volunteers to come in and validate these young women as being worthwhile and fun and someone that they want to spend time with. So Chick Time is definitely something that is a great opportunity. There's also spiritual care. So if you're called to conduct Bible studies or just share scripture and tell someone about the Lord, you can have one-on-one time with these young women to do that through the spiritual care program. If you're someone who likes to organize a Christmas party or help wrap presents, the volunteer staff always needs help doing that sort of thing. And then there's always fundraising, such as the big golf tournament that they have every year that's sponsored by Bolero. And we always need people to organize those things because I mentioned earlier that these girls are there at the payment of the state, but that is really a stipend, and that's for very minimal standard, a thin mattress, a thin pillow, one pair of shorts and a shirt, that sort of thing. But all the extras come from private donations. All the things that make this more of a home for these girls comes from private donations. So fundraising is a really important thing. But I will say here, as the goal of the volunteer program, all the volunteers are role models for these young women. They just have really, so many of them have never seen love. They've never been treated with respect on a continual basis. So to have somebody come into their life that wants to spend time with them and lifts them up and helps them think about not just their goals for the day, but their goals longer term in life, it's very, very meaningful. I've seen a lot of young women come through the system, and like a lot of these organizations we're talking about, I will just share with you that you go thinking that you're doing a service and that you're giving to them, but you wind up getting so much more back from them because the way they appreciate you, the way they, even if they can't really express it, there's just a lot of different ways that they show that it's been a special time, and it's just incredibly rewarding. So let's see what the next slide holds. And okay, this is just real quickly on the volunteer requirements. You have to be over 21. However, young women can come with their mothers, like for chick time. There is a background check that's required if you're going to be there on a more often basis, only because they're trying to protect the girls and they want to know who's coming on that campus. And of course, we don't share details about the girls with anyone, so there's a confidentiality. And you know, when you go, you log in because we're trying to protect these young women. Next slide. I would just say that in terms of the volunteer activities, it's very, very flexible. If you email Lisa Brown, she's been there for a long time and she is vivacious and loves these young girls. She will find a place that fits for you if you're interested. And you don't have to be a woman to volunteer at New Life. Men, there's a place for men as well. And if you don't have time to volunteer at New Life, you can certainly think about ways that you might want to raise funds to do something special for the girls. And no matter where you are or where you are, we just ask that you always hold these girls up in prayer because they need that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. If I remember correctly, a few years ago, we also had an opportunity to contribute gift bags or something like that at Christmas time.
Yes, they do. And Lisa is the contact for that. She usually has kind of a standardized gift bag for them, and it might include like a blanket or a toy or a book. And there are ways to contribute to that, as well as to assemble them and get them ready for distribution. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Paula. So next up, thank you, Jean, so much. I so appreciate your patience. Jean Wileyman is going to speak to us about the Rotary Club.
Hello, neighbors. This is Jean Wileyman to tell you about the Worldwide Club Rotary, and I will try to keep it short and sweet. Next slide, please. Apparently, Rotary is not as well known as we'd like it to be because only 20% of our survey participants have even some familiarity with the Rotary. Next slide. So in case you're not one of those 20%, this sentence summarizes who and what we are. We join leaders from all continents, cultures, and occupations to exchange ideas and take action for communities around the world. Next slide. One major Rotary effort is to end polio worldwide. And we're very close. Right now, only Afghanistan and Pakistan currently have cases. Next slide. Each year, Canyon Lake, Dripping Springs, and Wimberley Rotary Clubs host a fundraiser, Pints for Polio, to raise money for that cause. Next slide. Another major project with two Fredericksburg clubs is our water project in Kigoma, Tanzania. Next slide. Now we have fresh water near home, and we're expanding our project to provide 7 schools with toilet facilities and sanitary incinerators. Next slide. Canyon Lake Rotary's big fundraiser is the Romantic Rendezvous, and we use this to raise money for scholarships for local high school students. It's a dinner, dance, live band, auctions, and it occurs at the New Braunfels Civic Center. Next year, it's going to occur on February 12th. So put it on your calendar now. You'll have a great time and you'll be supporting a great cause. We now have 8 students receiving $2,000 per semester. Next slide. We also donate funds to other charitable organizations like CRRC, next slide, and CASA. Next slide. And we provide sweat equity as well. For example, when CRRC moved to their new building, our members helped assemble a walk-in freezer for the CRRC food pantry. They moved from one location to the other. And more recently, we helped provide and install some new shelving and a lift truck for the food bank. Next slide. We're looking for new members. You can go to canyonlakerotary.org to get information, or simply come to a meeting. We meet at St. Francis by the Lake Episcopal Church. We meet 12:30 to 1:30, the first and third Thursday in June, and the first, second, and third Thursday for the rest of the year. So if you're interested, please come. We hope to see you there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jane. I really appreciate it. Jan, can you unmute?
Fine.
Great. Jan, you might need to speak up a little bit.
Okay, hi. My name is Jan Elliott, and I am representing Threads of Love. I've been sewing the Threads of Love for approximately 3 years. During our best year, we made over 10,280 items for babies. Last year with COVID, and so many of the ladies, including myself, worked from home, we still managed to make over 6,000 items. We sew for babies that are tiny, tiny, creamy. So everything we make is minuscule, very tiny. Every item we make has Threads of Love label sewn on it before it goes to the main headquarters located at West I-10 for distribution to the hospital. We invite you to join us personally on Thursdays or by making things from home. Feel free to contact me for more information. As it notes on the screen there, our blankets, if they're crocheted, should be 20 by 20. And we do have ladies that quilt, and they will make the 20 by 20 quilts, or they will make 36 by 42. Those are the two sizes of quilts that we need. Okay. On the left, you will see a memory box, and this is for parents who have lost their baby. We fill the box with items that are related to their baby and scripture verses, etc. I would like to note that Carol has made many memory boxes for us, and they have just been beautiful. We have a gentleman that does the little tiny casket, and we use donated wedding gowns for the inside of them. The little stuffed box that you see up here on the right, there's a place back east that donates the cloth by the thousands. You see the ribbon around them. Well, they are given to mothers of preemie babies, and she will wear them next to her skin, most generally probably in her bra, for about 2 weeks. And that absorbs her odor and smell. And then it's placed in the incubator with the baby. And the reaction of the baby is amazing. It's so positive. As you see in the second slide from the left, we have ladies that do cutting. They cut out the patterns of the items, and we have a array of different items that we make. I'm not going to go into a list of all of them. And after they're cut out, we have ladies who will work on the sergers. And then the seams are all either serged or inked. And there are many of us who sew all these items together. We make a lot of little laundry bags that are used to hang on the end of the incubator that they put the baby's dirty clothes in. And then the bag can be taken home by the mother, and she washes the items and brings them back. We survive totally by donations and volunteers. No one is paid. Threads of Love celebrated their 20th anniversary in October of 2019. And I work with the Bulverde group, and the leader there is Jan Mobley. She has been with Threads of Love, I think, for probably about 13 or 14 years and served on the board with them. So she is very knowledgeable in everything that goes on from the top to the bottom. But if you want to make a donation and have it go to the Bulverde group, you can make the check payable to Jan Mobley and put in the on the 4 line, so it's a blood donation. You can buy fabric or give gift certificates, like at Walmart for fabric. We go through a lot of fabric. So come join us, check us out, and we meet on Thursdays from 9:30 to about 2:30. By that time, we're all pretty worn out. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jan. And that was Jan Elliott. I know it looks like it's Melanie Anthony.
Yes.
Jan is at our daughter's house right now.
I'm in Georgetown at our daughter's house, using her computer.
This is kind of a neat thing, being able to use Zoom, and we can be anywhere and meet. Now I'm asking for questions, and